Hi, it's Jack Zucker. We're going to talk about rhythm changes. As you probably know, I released a rhythm changes etude in the style of Charlie Parker a few days ago. And it's very useful to study that because it's got a lot of the intricacies of how you play over rhythm changes and how you outline the chords when you play over rhythm changes. Now, the way I look at rhythm changes, I basically break it down into three sections. The first section, which is the first 4 bars of rhythm changes, is a set of turnarounds. In B flat, we've got a B flat, a G7, C minor 7, F7, and then you've got a D minor or a D7 to a G7, C minor or C7 to an F7. Now the common chord in bar 1 and bar 3, that G7, the G7 is really important. And these are the two most important notes in rhythm changes, in my opinion. The B natural and the A flat, which is the third and the flat 9. And those are the two notes that outline the entire set of chord changes and make the ear hear that chord changing from when I go from the B flat to the G7. The third and the flat 9 outline that chord progression very strongly. C minor 7, and then the same thing with the F7, the third and the flat 9 outline that chord really strongly. So what I hear a lot of improvisers do, or don't do I should say, is they don't outline the G7, and instead it's very common to skip that and to just play modally over the first measure as if it were B flat. Some may treat it as B flat and G minor 7, which is essentially the same chord. They're synonyms for each other. But instead, you should practice lines that outline that chord change, outline that G7, hit that juice note of B natural and A flat. Now you may ask, well, how do I construct lines that sound good over that, and what do I listen for? Well, of course you go back and listen to Bird, because Bird could do it so naturally. All the bebop players could outline that G7 really well. So transcribe some Bird, look at the Omni book. I'd also suggest the Joe Pass Guitar Style. Joe Pass Guitar Style is an incredible book, and it helped me a lot when I was trying to learn to play jazz and learn to construct lines in the style of the bebop players. But I'm also going to help you here because I'm going to show you 5 essential turnarounds. That is what the first 4 bars of rhythm changes is. It's essentially 2 turnarounds. That B flat to G7 to C minor 7 to F7, the D7 to G7 to C7 to F7, those are turnarounds. And so we're going to look at 5 essential turnarounds that you can practice and integrate into your playing. Now the way I wrote these is I wrote them as 3-bar entities. So I stop and basically do the turnaround and then resolve it for a bar of B flat. But you can play the whole thing as an etude if you want. And that line, there's the third and the flat 9 of that G7. And there's the third and the flat 9 of the F7. That's the first turnaround. The second turnaround is really interesting because it does some displacement and it doesn't follow the rule of playing every one of these chords exactly as they're written in the real book or in the standard set of changes. Because what it does is this: it plays D minor 7 and then 2 beats of the G7, there's the third and the flat 9, but then it immediately goes to the C minor 7 2 beats early. And then a B major 7. That's the second turnaround. The third turnaround is something that's really common in jazz, and that is the cycle turnaround, and it's based on flat 9 chords. So it plays D7 flat 9, G7 flat 9, C7 flat 9, F7 flat 9. This is actually something that's out of the Joe Pass book, and It uses the same technology that we just utilized with the D7, G7, C7, F7, except it uses augmented chords. So it does augmented with the D7 augmented, G7 augmented, C7 augmented, F7 augmented. And then you can resolve it. So I also like to hammer on the first couple notes to make it a little more playable. And the last essential line uses 7 sharp 9 flat 9 chords. So those lines are just using the sharp 9 to the third, and then the sharp 9, and then the flat 9, and then the same thing on the next chord. Now what I recommend you doing is taking these lines, moving them so that, as Dennis Sandoli and Pat Martino used to tell me, learn these lines to be able to play them from every finger on every string. In other words, learn them inside and out, be able to start them anywhere on the fingerboard, use octave displacement if you have to, but you want to learn these lines, you want to work them up gradually to tempo so that when you're playing over rhythm changes, then you'll be having these as second nature under your fingers and you're not struggling to find out which notes to play. Now, in the next lesson in the series, we're going to discuss how to get to the 4 chord and transition from the 4 chord away. To get to the 4 chord, just a preview of the next lesson, we do a 2-5 into the 4 chord, and then we get to the 4 chord. Some people play a diminished chord a half step up from the 4 chord. That's what people like George Benson do a lot. And Pat Martino tended to play that as a flat 7 dominant chord. So he would do something like this. And then the turnaround, another turnaround again. So we're going to do another lesson later that's going to take you to the 4 chord and out, and then another lesson later that'll talk about the bridge. And I'm sorry this turned out to be such a long lesson, but this is one of those topics that can't be addressed in a short. And a lot of people want to make all this stuff sound really easy and that it's so simple to play. But the truth is that some of this stuff isn't easy, it's not simple to play, and it takes a lot of work. And this is one of those. But I hope you can persevere and put the work in and achieve the results you're looking for. Until next time, this is Jack Zucker signing out.